And here we go. Cicero, the second part. Quae res ea est is the demonstrative pronoun. Res can mean many things. So what is the heart of the matter? What is the circumstances? Basically, if you picked up from part 5, it means what's the reason. Bona. Bona is the goods. Patris is genitive. So the goods of the father. Huiski, another demonstrative pronoun. So the goods of the father of Huis, of this guy Sextus Roscius, his name's in genitive as well. Quae, which sunt, are sexageans. It means 6 million sesterces, if you read between the lines. So the goods of the father of Sextus Roscius, or his property, his estate, which is worth 6 million sesterces. Another quae, which de viro fortissimo and clarissimo el sola. These are all ablatives from the day, usually means concerning this guy, or which from this, we have two superlatives, the most brave man, and clarissimo is a famous man, Sulla. Quem, whom, causa, followed after a genitive, who for the sake of honour, or by reason of honour, nomino, I name him, I nominate. So to follow that, the goods of the father of Sextus Roscius, which are worth 6 million sesterces, which possibly from this most brave man, most famous El Sulla, whom I'm mentioning for reasons of honour. Duobus millibus is 2,000 numum coins, se dicit. So he's heard from El Sulla, who says, Sese himself, reflexive, emise, to have bought adolescents. So what he's saying is, a young man has bought. Vel can be a preposition, it's probably an adverb here, which means for instance, or even, that even a young man has bought potentimus, which means another superlative, he has the most power, hoc tempore, these go in the ablative, in this time, nostre civitatis. So in our state, in this time, there's a young man who has the most power, who's bought this, and here his name is in the nominative. L. Cornelius Chirogonus is, which means he, a vobis from you, Eudices, which is the jury. So he, jury, probably an evocative, from you, hoc postulat. He demands hoc this, ut that, quoniam sense, in aliem pecunia, which is the money of another person. These are both accusative. So plenem and placarem, which is so full, or so rich and so famous, preclaro, splendid, invaseret. So he's made basically an attack, an invasion, on the money of another's who was such a rich and outstanding. Nullo jure, which would be an ablative, by no right. Quoniam qui, the qui means and sense, pecunia ea. This money to him, the vita, the life of Sextus Roscius, infinitive and infinitive videator. So it seems that the life of Sextus Roscius, obstare and officere, they both are words of blocking. So you can say he's hindering and stopping L. Cornelius Chirogonus from taking it. And dilatis, you should remove, we have a subjunctive there, and we should remove ex animo sue from his mind, suspicionem omnium metum qui tolatus. So we have suspicion and all fear, basically, tolatus, you should remove. And remove these blockages. So basically, what Cicero is saying is this guy wants someone else's money, and he was so rich, and he's doing this with no rights. And the life of Sextus Roscius, who was on trial here, is blocking this guy from getting all this money. And he wants you to remove any suspicion and fear so that he'll feel comfortable in his mind. Sese, which is Chrysogonus, himself, hoc in columni, or we could be talking about Roscius. So with Roscius here, he does not arbitra, he does not think that he will be in columni. So while he's alive, he will not be safe. In the patrimonium, or the estate, the inheritance of huius innocens, of this innocent, which is so amplum and copiosum, which is ample and rich and copious with things, he will be able, posse, to obtain it. Yeah, so while Roscius, who's blocking it, while he's alive, Corodonus does not think that he will be able to obtain this estate of this innocent man. But if he's damnato, if he's condemned, and ejecto, which is driven away, spirit, again, Chrysogonus, he's hoping himself will be able to, say posse, that what adeptus est, the things that he has obtained per scalus through this crime, this per luxuriam, e fundere and consumere. So he'll be able to be abundant, be pouring out in luxuries, and he will be able to consume it all up. He'll be able to spend money. Hunc sibi ex animo scrupulum. Basically he's saying this scruple, this was from the mind sibi for him. So he who, say himself, dies and noctes, day and night, is stimulated and pungit, so he's pricked and stung day and night, and he wants this scruple to be removed from his mind, ut evalis, which means to pluck out this from his mind, and postulate, he demands that ad hoc, that to this, suem predem, which is the booty, profimini, that you shall confess vos yourself, adjutors, helpers for him, in tam nefarium, in such a nefarious deed that towards this booty, the judges here will help. If you've got all that together, so this scruple should be removed from his mind. It's stimulating and pricking him day and night, and he wants you to pull it out, and he demands that you be adjudicators, helpers in such a nefarious crime to obtain this booty. 7. Sic vobis, if to you, aequa en honesta postulatio viditur. If this postulation, or if what he's proposing, vidiator, passive, if it seems equa, fair, et honest, and honest, judices, which is judges or the jury here, ego, I, contra brevem postulation, adfera, I will adfera, I'll bring a brevem, something short, contra postulationem, against this postulation of the judges helping in the crime. He'll bring Cicero will bring something to it. Quo modo mihi persuado, which he's persuaded himself, quo modo, and basically how, aequorum, which is a comparative. He'll produce an aliquanto aequorium, so something which is much more fairer. Primum, first, a chrysogono peto. First, I shall seek from Chorosogonus, A takes the ablative, ut, that the pecunia fortunisque nostris, that our money and fortune, contentus sit, sit comes from the ut, so it's subjunctive. So first I shall seek from Chorosogonus that he be content with our money and our fortune, and sanguinem and vitam ne petat, and that he does not ask, ne is a negative, he does not ask for the blood and life. Deinde vobis, then or next, from us, from you, I mean, judges, ut that resistas the audacium scellere, that you resist the boldness of criminals or sceleris, scoundrels, and the innocentium calamitum levitas, that you lighten this calamity of the innocent. Pretty simple there. And in causa sextus rosci, and in the case of sextus rosci, again that's a genitive, the periculum, clause, verb. The propulsitus, again, we've seen you, which is propulsitus, and levitus, and resistatis. These are all what he's asking for. So he's asking that you resist this, that you lighten the calamity of the innocent, and that you propulsitis, you push away this periculum, this danger in the case of sexus, and inside this clause we have, which will be intended into all, which will be turned towards all of us. So the danger isn't just for sexus Roscius, this is the danger for all of us in this time. Quod C, but if, ought, either, causa criminalis, any reason of criminal conduct, or facti suspicion, or the suspicion of any facts or deeds, or again, we have ought, and ought, que libet, whichever you like, basically. And finally, vel differs from ought, it's probably the adverb meaning, or even res spiritu. So even if you find a minima res, some really small matter, quam obreb vidientur, which for this reason would seem non nihil, which means nothing basically, tam, and nevertheless indeferendo nomine secuti, which means you've brought in his name for this following up in the evidence of what you have found. So basically it's a criminal case, a suspicion of facts, or even if you've discovered some small matter, post remo. But finally, see if, besides eam predam, besides getting this booty, quam dixi, which I've said before, quicquam aliud, anything other, causa in veneritus, which you have found any other case of anything else, non recusimus, we will not refuse quin from, we'll look at vita dedento, so the life be given, the life of this genitive of sexus Roscio be given over to libidinem, to this lust, or the desire for blood. We've got some long sentences, but I might as well have the daily dictionary for the word we saw earlier. Officio, as a verb, is to block the path of, check, impede, which we had earlier. Now sin, but if agator, this is being done, aliud, for another reason, nisi, unless there is nothing otherwise, basically. So if you're doing this for no reason other, that eos, to those, ne quod decit, who are not lacking in anything, quid's just a thing, quibus satis nihil, to which nothing is satisfactory. So they lack in nothing, but they never have enough. If this alone, pugnator, is being fought for, hoc tempore, in this time ablative, so that to illam opimum praeclarum qui, so that these things which is rich and brilliant pradio booty, damnatio sextus Rosci, with sextus Roscius condemned, velut, as they add to this an accumulation of booty, basically a cumulus, nonne, surely, cum multa indigna, surely with much indignance, then and even this indignissimum, the most indignant thing, vos you, habitos, these things will be considered as idoneous, or suitable. So you put that in good English if you want. Per quorum sentiens, through these opinions, usque urandum, which means you have sworn an oath, you should be following this in the opinions of how you swore to it. Quod antia, which before ipsi scalere and ferra et sequi consequent. So which before they have been accustomed at sequi to follow with scalere, which is crimes, and ferro by iron. So in previous times they got so powerful that they were just doing crimes and killing people with iron, but now they're going to a law court. Qui ex civitate in senatum propter. So qui is who from the citizenry or from the state into the Senate propter dignitatem, on account of their dignitatem, their honours and their dignities, and ex senatu, from the Senate, which is the fourth declension, in hoc concilium delecti estis. So there's what's going on. They've been delecti estis. You have been chosen, who are from the state, into the Senate on account of your dignity, and from the Senate into this council, propter severitatem, on account of your severity or your strictness. Propter takes the accusative. That from these, ab his, postulare, to the man that these homines, which is men, sicarios, his assassins, and gladiatores, non modo, not only ut so that vitent, they avoid supplica, a punishment, which a vobis from you, pro maleficus suis, metueri and hoeri debent. Because of their maleficence, which basically means producing bad works, so because of their evil, they ought to fear and horror and be bristled in dread, verum. But even ut spoilus, that the spoils from this judico, from this courtroom, discident, they should leave ornati and aucti, so increased in ornaments, which means possessions basically. So you've been chosen from the state into the Senate on account of your worthiness, and from this Senate you've been called into this council on account of your severity, from which this you ought to demand that these men and assassins and gladiators, not only have they done this court action to avoid punishment, which from you because of their evil doings they ought to be in fear and dread, but even they want to leave with the spoils ex hoc judicio from this courtroom with increased possessions.